Today we're going to try to explain how I can be here and now, sitting here as this 64-year-old disabled woman, and yet have 90 alters in space who are all set at about 25 years old, and they are navigating ships through space. And how I can have the memory of missions that are already completed, but for them, they're still in progress. So this is a potentially mind-blowing concept.
A trip.
This is a big trip. Now, I'm not going to draw all 90 alters. I'm just going to draw you a couple of them so that you have an idea of what goes on. And there are two ways I'm taken. For Nachtwaffen, for the Germans, I'm taken in this body, and they regenerate me back to age 25. For Kruger, I'm taken in this body and put into a tank, and they transfer my consciousness into a clone body, and that clone body appears to be 25 and has its own mind and soul that after about 20 years, it will push me out. So these missions were all to a planet far enough away that they had to all use my real body because it takes longer than 20 years to get there.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, this technology, once you understand the basic of how it works, it explains a lot of the other stuff, like how they can take you and bring you back, and you're not even sure you were taken except you might have marks. Okay, I'm drawing pictures. Move my chair so you can see. And I'm going to use different colors for the different programs.
Okay.
So the black is just me. The black is me in this life, here and now. We're using the abbreviation HNN for here and now. The black line is here and now.
Oh, great. This is good.
Okay. Here and now is this black line, and this is my life. I was born. I was taken to Langley here. So we'll give the CIA blue because I hate them. I really do. I mean, they took me when I was a small child. They messed with my brain. They sold me to these other people, and they won't leave me alone. So my first trip, I was 4 years old, and they took me to Langley. And then they took me at 6 to Montauk. And at 9 to Mars. And I became part of the militia. And in 1990, I went into Nachtwaffen. And then in 2016, no, it's 2014, they decided it was time to send me home. So they put me in a machine that literally time traveled me back here.
Mm-hmm.
And once I got back here, they age regressed me back to 4 years old and gave me back to my mom. So this whole time, I was bilocated. In 2013, was when the NSA agent, recovered my memories.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for me, I traveled this path.
Uh-huh.
It's completely linear for me. Now, does that make sense so far?
Yep.
Okay. The next trip that I have memory of was another CIA trip. I was about 14, 15, well, between 13 and 15. So that would have been about 1970. And they came and got me and took me for just over 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I was living in the high desert of Southern California, and they took me to Los Angeles to meet Baphomet,
Okay.
the Draco. And if I had failed that, they would have killed me. They were testing me to see if I would shapeshift.
Okay.
Now, I've never seen anybody shapeshift. So I personally, it was not even in my consideration. But that's what the CIA was afraid of. So in 1970, they took me. And they took me again in about 1980. For the same thing. So we're talking about trips that I remember. Okay, then I had an altar in about 1990. And the green is going to be Kruger.
Okay.
So Kruger took me then, and that's the altar that I nicknamed Starbuck, and she served in Kruger as a pilot and sensor array technician for 5 years. So somewhere about here, she met, well, he was a captain at the time. He was a captain for Nachtwaffen, and he was on the space station that she was based on, and he kept watching her, and that was about the time that she got killed.
Oh, okay.
And she was in a clone body.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, she was a clone. That's important. She got killed in battle. The sensor screen broke and basically cut all her skin off. And when she came back in a new body, a new clone body,
Mm-hmm.
this captain decided that she would make a good navigator for his ship. It was Der Spatz, which in English is the Sparrow.
Mm-hmm.
And it was used for spying on Nachtwaffen colonies to make sure they were behaving themselves.
All right.
She served for 15 years with Nachtwaffen. And so that brings her down. It was 2018. She was sent back.
Mm-hmm.
So then she was back.
Okay.
And hers, they killed the clone, is how she got back.
You mean
But
that they killed the clone and the consciousness returned on its own back to Earth?
the consciousness returns on its own to the natural body that it was born in.
But it's
But
not. But it's not the whole consciousness. It's just part. What you
it's
call.
the whole consciousness.
Oh, it's the whole consciousness. Okay.
They transfer the entire consciousness and then they activate the altar that they want.
I see. Okay.
So you're not split up, but because you're in two places
All
in the
right.
same line at the same time, you're bilocated.
Okay.
And I have memories from there and there and there and off and on through this whole thing because it's the same consciousness, you're bilocated, so there's like a telepathic connection.
Uh-huh.
And I would wake in her, and every time she was killed a second time about then because she got an infection that could not be treated with the medicine that they had. So she was put in a new body, and then she was killed to send her home. Okay. Now, last year, Nachtwaffen. So this is in well, I guess it's the year before last now. Also in 2018. Now, they took me on 60 and backs. So I should be back in, I should be at the end of it at about, what, 2080, 2078? And so in 2078, they send me back. And there are 90 of those. They were two a night for 45 days. For 60 years each. And they all came back to that same period. So I know, Penny, here and now, knows that we could not do our mission and rescue everyone. We only got half the people out.
Uh-huh.
So
was that in our future? I mean, the rescue mission?
The rescue mission is going alongside our current reality.
Our current reality, okay.
And I have connection with parts of it. I still am there in dreams. When I sleep,
Mm-hmm.
I have slept lucid since my memory was activated. So it's been almost 7 years that I only sleep dead whenever that I'm drugged. The rest of the time I'm awake, I'm aware 24/7. So if I'm asleep here, my consciousness will drift toward the other pieces of it. And I've been having dreams of a Kruger mission that I can't figure out where it is. And I know it's Kruger because of the medical technology they use. But this is our core. They come and get you with portal tech. And the portal, it's light. And they make a hole and light comes off it. And it's just big enough for one person to come out. But they usually send 3 or 4 to get me. And they're wearing black fatigues. They usually send 3 or 4 to come get me. I am not a great artist, at least not on these. But they set up this portal upstairs. It opens about 2 meters the other way from the top of that door.
Okay.
So they use the same spot every time. And I have not figured out how to stop them.
All right, question. When you said that they have to take your whole consciousness and then use one of the altars. So they can't split up and use, for example, if they have Starbuck they want to use, they can just sort of send that altar somewhere and without the whole person, right?
No.
Okay. So how do they, yeah.
They take your consciousness, your mind, because the here and now penny is just another altar,
right,
as far as they're concerned. Okay. So they use the code word to call up the altar they want.
To open up sort of like the compartment, right? Yeah.
To open the compartment, they use code words.
Okay.
And most of my personal code words that I know of already are from Wizard of Oz.
Okay.
Now, other people have other collections, but in the 1950s, they were using Wizard of Oz. And that's what mine is based on. The code word for me to remember what happened to me, for me to remember Lieutenant Philippi Valkyrin, who was on Mars and on the ship Zolheim. The code word was Free Dorothy. So that's the one I know for sure. And for me to stay out of disassociation, the code word was the Tin Man has a heart. I mean, they were very basic about this. Yeah. This was the story they were using to program my altars. And they were quite consistent throughout it. If they wanted me to feel and even get panic, they would just make sure someone around me said, Tin Man has a heart. So.
Okay. Now, when we are talking about multiple altars being used at the same time, for example, when you were on Mars, could it be that you were used in different places at once?
Yes.
In other words, you're talking about bilocation right now. Can we also talk about like tri-location and multiple locations at the same time? So the consciousness actually has the ability to split up. Do you know the limit? Like how many times you can split up that way?
I have 90 altars out there right now.
Yeah, so what I'm thinking is that are they using them all at the same like parallel time, or are they using them maybe one after another so it doesn't overlap? that much?
From the perspective of the consciousness, it's one after the other.
Okay.
From the perspective of, okay, so you're basically asking,
can you have 90 parallel lines like that at the same time? While you
I have 90 parallel lines right now down here.
Okay.
That's what I was telling you, was
so
in 20.
We're talking about you being
November
here.
5th.
Yeah.
From November 5th, 2018 to almost Christmas that same year, they were taking me twice a night for these missions. I have 90 out there right now.
So we're talking about 90 clones?
No.
No.
90 trips in this body.
90 trips in this body. Okay.
Because the trip is too long for a clone.
Right. Exactly. So now we're getting into the loops, which is creating a loop in my mind right now.
These are the loops.
So they did it every night, 45 days a night, two altars a night for 45 days. That makes 90 altars. And they would take you and bring you back, and then take you and bring you back. So we're talking about actually 90 branches and loops coming out, right? Of that. Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's 90 down here.
How is that possible? I mean, physically, is it?
It's one right after the other, right after the other, right after the other. And it's regeneration. It's regeneration technology that makes it possible.
Yeah. I mean the physics of the what they call the quantum dilation. The physics of it. It means that they have to give you like a break period for, I don't know, recuperation or something.
They have to give you a break period long enough for your body to be regenerated, be back. Okay, when they first take you, they regenerate you to the age they want you to be, and they maintain that while you're gone. And then when they bring you back, they have to put you back to the age that you were whenever they got you. And they sometimes fix things if the tech likes you. So there will be times that I will come back in better shape than they took me. And the injuries and illnesses that I've been dealing with for the last 2 decades, it's really obvious when something was fixed.
Okay.
Even if it's something little, you come back and you go, well, I'm pretty sure I was gone last night. Oh, my elbow doesn't hurt anymore. I mean, I'm 64. I've had a hard life in this world, not even counting that. So I have things that hurt all the time. And to have one of those things stop hurting is like a really big deal.
Okay.
I mean, a really big deal. So I notice when something is improved, because an improvement is often as big of an evidence that something happened. And my doctor is like, okay. He asks me what happened, why I'm better. And sometimes I can tell him and sometimes I can't. I mean, I can't tell him, well, I got taken for mission last night and they decided to fix this. And then the next time the tech may be somebody that doesn't like me and puts it back to what it was. So it's like, I'm sorry. It's like a really difficult situation. Because I am a disabled old woman in the here and now. And I get shots, I get epidurals, shots in my spine so that I can walk. And so any little improvement is something major to me. And some of the texts will fix things and some of them won't. And I think they're not supposed to.
Okay. How many altars have you remembered so far?
I have reintegrated 30 altars.
Mm-hmm. How do you know that the rest of them, the 60 remaining are, I mean, the 60 times that, yeah.
90 times.
Yeah, I mean, the remaining 60 times that they took you, how do you know that was for, that those are other altars if you don't remember them? How do you determine that?
Well, I know how many times I was taken.
Right. And
I have memories of the mission and the ships and some of the people I serve with. And I know how the mission turned out. So maybe they are reactivating the same altars. That's a possibility. But at the same, because I experienced them linearly, they may be activating the same altars again. I mean, if you've got one that's trained, why would you discard it?
Is that the same group that is using these 90 altars?
It's two groups using them, but they're working together.
Okay.
It's the Germans and the mercenary group known as Kruger. And they're in all of those. I'm being used as a navigator. I'm not a ground.
Does that mean that they have supposedly 90 navigators in different places, right?
Yeah, they have 90 navigators out there in ships, and some of them are using more than one ship at the same time.
Okay.
I know that the one that is on the German Armada flagship is operating the entire Armada together. It's not that much harder to take the whole Armada than it is to take one ship. And it makes it easier coming out because nobody's going to get clumped inside each other that way.
Okay.
The navigator can keep them all separated.
When you reintegrate an altar, for example, you're talking about 30 altars. Every time you remember one, it's a different ship, it's a different mission, there is a different crew. That's how you know it's a different setting, right? That's how you know it's a different altar. Or do you remember like your name there being different and everything, the rank, the name or something? How do you separate those? I mean,
names are usually variations of Penny Bradley. Or my birth name, Penelope. The rank can be anywhere from lieutenant to captain. I only had one that was a captain. And she was with Earth Defense Force. And their ship was stationed on the Giza Plateau. And they were supposed to be defending the city of Jerusalem from attacks. And she was killed in a training exercise.
Oh, okay.
And she was left catatonic because of how it happened. And because the mind was gone, they've never reactivated her. And I haven't exactly reintegrated her, but she's sitting in my head. And she used to rock and scream, and now she just sits and rocks. So that, from my point of view, that's a big improvement. But
okay, tell me about this altar let's take this as an example and like go through this so people can understand. From the beginning to end, like when you say she sits in rocks, has she not been returned, or she has been returned, and you see her in your head as being catatonic right now? How does that work? Like, how did you remember her and what happened?
Um, I was aware of her from 2014 to 2017.
Uh-huh.
And she was, I, at the time, I thought she was virtual reality, that she wasn't real.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't yet understand that these altars were me.
Okay.
And we were on some sort of a university campus, and we had been on the ship, and I was training crew members how to run the ship because I was supposed to be transferred elsewhere.
Uh-huh.
And a couple of my crew members that I had wanted to train were being really uncooperative.
That's all on
And
Earth,
so
right? That's all on Earth somewhere.
it's all on Earth. And I was forced to train people that I didn't think had the ability, because the ones that did have the ability would not cooperate. And then there was this training session, and we were on this campus, and I'm not sure where it was, but it was a college-style campus, and we were in 3 teams, and we were equipped with scalpels, and we were supposed to kill each other. And what it was a desensitization to blood training exercise for military. And I knew several of my crew real world.
Uh-huh.
And after the episode, I contacted them and said, did you have a dream like this? Do you remember this? And 3 out of the 5 that I remembered being there did remember it. So at that point, I was curious, was it real or was it virtual reality? And by the 3rd session of it, I had decided it was virtual reality, and I saw no reason to be killing anybody. So Penny, who had been piggybacking, walked out, came back to the here and now, which left this physical form there. And she was killed. And the consciousness that what she was went catatonic because her own team was killing her. And they basically went on a I forget the phrase for when you cut strips of skin off. That was how she died. And I had been using Native American shamanic soul retrieval technique and found her as a soul fragment out in astral,
Okay.
4D, the land of the dead. So she was basically going to be abandoned. And I found her out there, and I felt guilty because I had walked out of her and left her to die, not realizing she was real. And so I brought her back, and I've been giving her peace and love and trying to help her heal. And she's not making a lot of progress. But I see her sitting in the back of my mind, just rocking.
So when you walk out on that parallel you can actually withdraw your consciousness back to here, but there will be some remaining projection left there, and that also has feelings and self-awareness, right? Okay.
Yes.
So there is some kind of a central command that withdraws, but there is still a projection of yourself there. Okay.
Yes.
When you walked out on her,
So,
as you say, what happened? She couldn't be self-aware enough to defend herself, or did she have less power, less willpower? What happened?
there were a couple of minutes where the body was left without any
Okay.
control. And it was during that time she was overrun.
Uh-huh.
So.
And you said you said that you were that was the same altar that you were on the Giza plateau with?
Yes.
So
And she was a ship captain.
So she was basically assigned to that training mission. Okay.
She's assigned to the training mission.
All right. Interesting.
And I don't have a lot of her memories because she's in such bad shape I can't access them.
Right. What about the Sparrow? The one that was on Sparrow. You said that they took you what, 2013?
They took me out 1990.
Oh, 1990, right.
And 1990.
Okay.
And I know I was sent back in 2018.
So we're talking 3 lines now: the Here and Now line, the Nachtwaffen line, and the Kruger line. 3 parallels at this point. Okay.
Well, what I have is the Here and Now, Nachtwaffen, when the CIA takes me, and Kruger.
Okay.
So I have three competing agencies that take me. And the CIA was the original one that did, and they have sold me to everybody else.
Okay.
So they sell an altar and a tissue sample to the ones that use clones.
Okay, interesting question. You can remember them when you're here. Can they remember being you when they're there? And can you communicate that way? Or can they just be aware of, oh, I have a personality there on Earth. There is me. I'm sure they have some subconscious things going on all the time, but can they have that much awareness when they serve, for example, that they are actually from Earth, for example, or something like that? Do you know if it's possible or not?
I haven't thought about that.
No, because it should be both ways. I mean, supposedly.
It should be both ways. Yeah.
As a theory, huh?
I wake up sometimes in control of their altar and body. And I've done damage that way. A lot of damage. And I did it enough from 2014 to 2017 that I was pulled in and my ability to do that was shifted. So where I can piggyback but not control the other altar.
Okay.
So I'm and I'm there and I can see and hear and feel and know everything that they're doing in real time, but I can't control what
All
they're
right.
doing. So that shift was made in 2017 because I was blowing things up.
Mm-hmm. So you're basically sabotaging the
Oh
mission,
yeah.
the missions. Okay.
I blew up a cyborg factory on Mars.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about that.
That was in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
I was on a mission. It was a Kruger mission. 4 of us were sent in to get upgrades to our enhancements. And it's a very fine line between an enhanced human and a cyborg. It has to do with how much of your natural body is still there.
Mm-hmm.
But we were there to get our enhancements upgraded. And I, Penny, woke up inside the Penny Bradley that was there. And I saw the rows and rows and rows of cyborg bodies, robots, mechanical, completely
Hanging from like a
hanging on an assembly line.
assembly line. All right.
And it was 6 deep across. And they were just hanging in rows. And then I saw humans on hooks, alive on hooks around the edge, waiting to be converted. And what they do is they take a piece of your brain this big or smaller that contains your pineal gland,
Mm-hmm.
and that's all they use of the human in the cyborg. And the rest of it gets turned into ET food. And that's what happens to a lot of the refugees and sick people who disappear on Earth. That's what happens to them.
So that was a Kruger mission, you said, right?
That was a Kruger mission,
Uh-huh.
but we were going to an ICC. Well, that's what the community calls them. We called it planetary corporations,
Okay.
but we were going to one of their factories to get our upgrades.
Okay.
Now, I don't know what kind of deal that Kruger made with planetary corporations for this,
Uh-huh.
but that's whose tech we were using. So we were at their factory, and Penny blew up the place because I was deeply mortified by what was going on around me. And
What did you do exactly?
what did I do? I felt a rising panic, and my panic triggered my psi ability to blow up electronics.
Uh-huh.
And I blew up the place. I sent out an EM pulse that there's a big black mark on Mars to this day. Smoke still rising up it.
Is that like a closed
And
circuit that you create? A closed circuit with fire sparkles coming out of the electronics or something? Or does it catch on fire? How does that? What do you remember from it?
What I remember was all the electronics exploding at once, and it just the power plant took it, just went.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So it was a central explosion, and I was caught, and that alter in a clone body was killed.
Yeah.
And
Did they? Do you think they reversed it? Could they reverse it? What you did? I mean,
they possibly could have,
yeah.
but they haven't. So they haven't. It's one, they're talking about that Mars has these things happen, and they had a second strike last year that I was not involved in,
Okay.
where I know that Nachtwaffen took out the plant on Mars, the factory, where they were storing the consciousnesses of SSP assets who had died.
Oh, okay.
These people had been tracking us on Earth, and when we died of natural causes, they would come and trap our souls instead of letting us die.
Oh, I see.
And so if they store you for a week, you're still who you were when you died. If they store you for 5 months, you have no memory, and when they bring you out, they have to retrain you.
Oh, okay. So they lose the Earth memory, so to speak.
They lose
Probably
Earth
not
memory,
completely,
and
but they don't have the skills in place. Okay.
Yeah, they don't know who they were. They don't have language. They have to be taught everything like a baby.
Right. I mean, when they are put in a body, right? Okay.
When they're put in a body. But the folks running this knew what their abilities were. And they sell these people, these assets. They sell them to ETs. They sell them to people on Earth. They're just another commodity.
So the Nachtwaffen did this because they wanted to eliminate competition.
No.
No?
No, they did this because it was repugnant to them.
Really?
They do. They do have an ethical system.
Really? All right. So that was even beyond what they would consider acceptable.
That was beyond what they would consider acceptable, yes.
Wow, interesting. So basically, Nachtwaffen, when you die, you die. You don't get reused or trapped as they did it.
Unless you have an ability that they cannot replace easily.
Okay. So there is an exception to that rule.
I have been warned that they will never let me actually die.
Gee.
And having already been dead 5 times and I'm still here, however bizarre that may sound to your audience, I'm beginning to think that maybe there's a point to that some of us will not ever be allowed to leave.
What's the point again? You mean
that I know a person here and now who is one of the people who picks up assets for Nachtwaffen service. She's on the ship that comes and gets us.
Okay.
And I can't tell who she is.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
She's private. And she has a 5-year-old child who would be at risk.
Okay, so that doesn't matter. Okay, and so?
Okay, she told me that she had been warned to not get too close to me. So they know we've been talking here and now. And she was told, don't get too close to her because we're not ever going to allow her to die. That when she finally gets to the point where she's dead on Earth, we're going to take her into space and regenerate her. And she's going to keep working for us until we can't regenerate her anymore.
Interesting.
And I'm like, oh my God, I can't even die and get away from these people. But
so we have 15 minutes left, and so we're planning to do another session with a person that you say you were together with in one of the altars. Can you segue to that now, and so we can maybe the next one we do will be with that person.
Okay. He has videos out.
Uh-huh.
He's public. His name is Will Glover. And Will and I serve on the German Armada flagship
Uh-huh.
together. And I'm the navigator. And he's enlisted, but an enlisted officer like a master sergeant, and he comes on the bridge. So we have some interaction. And he knew who I was. I knew he looked familiar, but we had been friends on email. He wasn't on Facebook then, he is now. And we had been talking for a while, and this one particular day, we were emailing back and forth fast enough, it was almost like we were talking in real time. There was like a 10-minute lag at the most. And I had sent him pictures.
Uh-huh.
And he made a telepathic connection with me and pulled me into his head, and then took both of us into his altar's head on the bridge of the ship, where I got to see myself being rude to him.
Uh-huh.
And
So he
through
took
his
you,
eyes,
yeah, so he took you so you could see through his eyes what you were doing. Okay.
what I was doing. And as an enlisted man, he was not supposed to be flirting with me, and that's what he was trying to do.
Oh, okay.
And I had recently been in a lot of trouble on that ship. My commanding officer doesn't like me at all and is trying to get me off his ship.
What
Excuse me.
time frame are we talking about the mission? When is it?
This is one of these.
Uh-huh. I see. In the future.
This is one of the ones that's still out there.
In our future.
And I've been on that ship for a while now, and that commander he's doing things that are against regulations, trying to get rid of me. And we've had several fights because things he's doing to me are illegal under German law. And I've gone as far as documenting it and sending my documentation to High Command. And he will stand nose to nose with me and scream at me in German that I am a Draco, that I smell like a Draco, I act like a Draco, that I just look like a human, and that he doesn't want me on his ship, and that he's going to make sure that I'm gone, and that I will be disgraced through the entire fleet. And he's been doing a fine job of setting me up. And he does things to trigger me and then reports my reactions without telling what he did to cause them.
Okay.
And he's making me sound completely irrational. And one day I got so angry I blew his head up.
So that was the one that you told us in the very first interview, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the one I told you about in the very first interview, that I blew his head up and he went into the regen tank, and when he came out, he held the court-martial, which is also against regulations. It should have been someone from High Command. You never have the victim doing the prosecuting.
Okay.
And Didn't matter what I said. I was guilty because I had blown up his head, and he had me put out the airlock until they knew I was dead. They had a rope around me, and they pulled me back in, put me in regen, because they still needed a navigator. Now, most Nachtwaffen ships, the navigators are Draco.
Oh,
Full blood Draco. There are not enough humans or even hybrids that are capable of doing the job.
uh-huh.
This is the reason the Germans will never let me die, is because I replace a Draco on their ship.
Okay.
If you have someone that you can live around, even if I occasionally have a temper tantrum, then that's to someone that you cannot live around because your brain can't, your personal neurological wiring can't handle the energy. So on a scale of kill you or just bitchy, they're going to go with just bitchy.
It sounds strange that it's a flagship and he's the captain of it, and he is in the position that he must have an understanding of what like every asset is, and yet he is behaving this way towards you and probably others. It doesn't sound very very efficient on his part to spend so much energy on you when you know it's I mean it's a big job, right? He is a captain of not just a ship but a flagship. What's going on there? Is he feeling so like I don't know confined on that position that he has to like sort of release on people like you or what? Why is he doing that?
People tend to rise to the level just above where they're competent.
Uh-huh.
And he knows he cannot do anything without a decent navigator. And I was getting too much praise for my work.
Okay. So?
So he decided to make me look crazy. Crazy, emotionally uncontrollable, irrational. That's the phrases he's using to describe me to high command. And so I have been documenting what he's been doing to trigger these episodes. One of the things he did that is completely illegal,
Uh-huh.
okay, in Nachtwaffen, they take the European approach that sex is a good thing and that it relieves pressure and makes you more productive. And under the regulations, it's encouraged but not ordered.
Uh-huh.
It's supposed to be completely voluntary.
Okay.
But yeah, it's encouraged. Well, what he has done is he has 4 officers, men, who are sadists. And none of the females want anything to do with them at all. We have recommended that they stick to themselves.
Uh-huh.
Well, he ordered me to service them. And this is against regulations. And that's part of why I blew his head off. It was personal defense. And I was not allowed to enter that into my defense during the court-martial. So I made sure that it got to high command And so far, they have chosen to not investigate him.
Is it because
And
you're in the middle of a big operation right now?
well, that's part of it. Is
And
we're in the middle of a big
we're
operation.
talking about like a time frame in the future, so the bleed through you have is from that time. It's not before or after. What I mean is there probably is an outcome there, but you don't have access to that, right?
It's like here.
Oh,
It's
so
not
it's parallel with us.
not. It's parallel with us.
Okay.
It's real time.
It's real time.
In
Okay.
real time, this man is abusing me.
Okay.
And I know by the end of the 60 and back, nothing's going to be done about him because I'm already back from all that.
I see. You're back, but
So
you don't know what's forward, do you? I mean, you don't know what's going to be next year and the year after next.
I went all of
Right.
this and came back.
I know.
So I know what's in that.
Uh-huh.
I don't know what's in here.
Okay. So you know you're 60 and back to the very down to the end.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I know he's not going to have anything happen to him over it.
I see.
Or if he does, I will not be informed of it. And I know that the entire trip he's going to make hell for me.
So the Germans must have a great managerial human resource problem there. because if you, for example, if you blow up your boss's head like that, even if it's regenerated afterwards, there must be some kind of a report sent to the high command saying, okay, this happened. There must be an internal investigations department, some kind of supervision, any of that, right? I mean, it's not just...
I was punished and I was put back in my duties, and I am supposed to submit to him, and we're on a ship together for a very long time.
I understand, but I mean, operationally speaking, he is now in the way of the whole thing, doing what he's doing. So there must be a problem somewhere, we say in Russia, a fish rots from the head down. That means there is some problem maybe up top above him that they're not seeing. They're not seeing that this is happening, and it's hurting them.
What they're seeing is that in a military situation that he has what it takes to get the job done. They really don't care how he treats those under us as long as we get the job done.
Okay.
And the team he has put together, we tend to put our job ahead of our personal dislike for him. But I did blow his head off. And now when he looks at me telepathically, I remind him that I blew his head off. So he's not pushing as hard, but he's still being nasty.
Okay, the last question for today. You talk about all of this in real time. Can you function in this life here and now and see that in real time at the same time? How does that happen? Or do you need to be like asleep or resting or doing something that doesn't require your full attention to see that? Could you, for example, drive a car and talk to them there, or could you?
I cannot drive a car and talk to them. I have to be where I'm not concentrating on anything else.
All right. So it's like listening to something that you want to, like if you're listening to an interview, for example, you cannot at the same time talk on the phone or drive a bicycle or something like that, right? Okay. Right. Okay.
You can listen to music while you
ride a bicycle, but you can't listen to a lecture and really concentrate if you say want to cross a road somewhere or do something. Okay. So how often do you sort of go over there? What?
Crossover?
Crossover? How often
Crossover?
do you do that?
I usually cross over a couple of times a day in different altars.
Okay.
So it's not every day for the same ones.
Uh-huh.
And some of them I don't know where they are.
You just have a picture,
I
a sensation, or
I have like a movie I'm in,
uh-huh.
but I don't know how I got there and I don't know where it
the
goes.
background and everything. Yeah.
There's one I would really like to know where it is. I think it's a colony that was related to Kruger.
Uh-huh.
Because I've gotten bits of it over the last 2 years. And it's a colony that's been destroyed. And it's only a few survivors trying to stay alive. And most of their technology no longer works. And what does, they don't have the parts to repair it. So they're cannibalizing where they can to keep vital functions going, and it appears nobody knows they're still alive.
Oh, okay. So they're
So
stranded somewhere.
yeah, they're stranded somewhere in ruins of their own culture. So there's gray rocks that they have built around, and it looks like you're just going into a hole because they still have a holographic technology to cover the entrances, and you're just walking into a hole in the wall, and you'll have a ring that is your key to get into places, and it will give a trio of green stripes if you're healthy, but if there's something wrong, it will give variations of yellow or red and numbers with it that tell the tech what's wrong with you. And if when it gets to a certain point, they take you into a holographic med bay of the type that Randy Kramer describes.
Uh-huh.
So there's a man there that keeps telling me he's my father, and I don't believe him. And there are a lot of children and a lot of disabled adults. And it very much has the feel of they had some sort of major catastrophe, and most of the adults were injured and they're trying to survive.
So it's like a post-apocalyptic society.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a post-apocalyptic society, and I'm like one of the, like I would have been a young adult at the time of the attack,
Uh-huh.
and maybe in my mid-30s.
Okay.
So I've become a de facto leader simply by being there, and
Is it through a download, like a flash download that you get this, or do you have to watch it real time as if it was a minute after minute going by?
I have to watch it like a minute after minute going by.
Uh-huh.
It's something that is, I'm there and experiencing this scene.
Can you talk to them, to that person that you are there, sort of? Can you cross over and say, I am Penny, or
I haven't been able
okay.
to interact with her. When I'm there, I'm her,
Okay.
but not affecting what she's
You're
doing.
not like overlapping her. You cannot say that, you came from somewhere and that you are a separate
Yeah, can't
persona.
do that. No,
Okay.
no.
Interesting.
I'm experiencing it as her
Okay.
while being me in the here and now. So it's like I have entered her head and become her, except I don't know all the background story. I only know what is happening now. So
Mm-hmm.
I am inferring background from the state of the situation. So they do have some technology that still works, but they can't repair it when it breaks.
Are there altars that you have right here and now on Earth that you know
Yeah.
of? Okay.
Yeah. I have one that pops up about once a week and gives Lou a really hard time. And he has told me that if she were a man, that he would punch her.
No, I mean that
Um,
serves somewhere on Earth.
I have one that I don't want to talk
Okay.
about because that will get me killed. It's a CIA asset.
What you were talking about just now, what you mentioned just now is an interesting thing that we didn't cover, is that they can pop out and actually take over for a while, or what's happening there. Okay.
It's they come in, they take over, they run the show. I have no memory of what they did. Um, I have at least one day a week that I don't know what the hell I did. And I go through my messenger on Facebook to make sure I didn't cause any trouble.
Oh my God.
I have no idea what I
What
did.
about the people around you? Like, do they remember what you did and who you were?
Lou does.
Okay.
Lou does. And I have gone as far as contacting a couple of friends of mine who work with reintegrating altars,
Uh-huh.
and they've given me some advice on how to keep Penny in charge. And I've been following it, and it's slowed them down, but hasn't stopped it. So, in fact, last September, I went to Las Vegas, and a group of us met up there. And so there were 5 of us from the SSP group all in one place for 2 or 3 days. And I got so bad. Altars just pop, 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 pop. I was dropping things and just really being a klutz. And the man from Australia takes my face in his hands and looks me in the eyes, and he says, "Only one of you can run the body at a time." And I asked him, "Am I that obvious?" And he says, "To someone who understands what's happening, yes, you are that obvious."
And how do you tell? You said that your mother has at least 3 altars, and you must be able to tell by now that someone has switched to another altar. How do you tell?
I watch videos, and I have a couple of close friends. Oh, I don't have altars.
Okay.
One of these friends, I showed her, took her own video and showed her exactly the minute she shifted, and she took it offline.
Oh.
She says, "I don't have altars." I go, "Yes, you do. You shifted right there." And
But
she changed from being her normal, talkative, friendly self to being a sex kitten.
oh, all right.
And the change was like, "Toom." So it was a dramatic change.
change.
And a dramatic change in personality. And she didn't know she did it.
So does it always happen this drastically? Because when they want to make a movie about this multiple personality thing, they have to make it so drastic and contrasting and obvious so that the audience can actually see there's a change, right? That, like in the movie Split, which I haven't seen, but I know the movies like that. Is it the same in real life?
There was an old movie, The Three Faces of Eve.
Uh-huh.
That was, it can be like that. You can have several alters that appear normal, but don't share memory. And so if you have a lot of memory gaps, a lot of things you just don't remember, and people are telling you you said things and you don't remember saying it, there's a pretty good chance you've got an alter going.
Okay.
With my mother, she has one alter that likes me. And that alter will call up angry that I haven't called. I swear. I used to call her once a month, every month for years. And then the other alters started being so nasty that I would sit and cry for a week afterwards. Well, the woman knows all my buttons and she would stomp on them. And I was in the process of getting out of disassociation. And so I was forcing myself to feel everything. And the combination was not very healthy for me. So I stopped calling my mom. Well, then she moved in with my sister, who has her own issues, of course. I mean, if you're raised by somebody with alters, you're going to have issues. And so then my mom has two other alters that will tell you nasty crap. And because there's two of them, they don't remember what the other one said. And so what I have is somebody who is yelling and screaming at me over something that I did when I was 8. And she's yelling at me like it just happened.
Okay.
And then she'll shift subtly. And suddenly she's mad about something that actually did happen in the recent past and doesn't remember yelling at me at all.
Okay.
And then she'll shift into the one that likes me and, well, I never did that. I never said that. I go, Mom, I have witnesses.
I see.
Mom,
okay.
I don't talk to her. I do not talk to her on a private phone call. I talk to her on speakerphone with Lou listening so that I have a witness, because she has so gaslighted me in the past that Lou wasn't sure I was sane.
Okay.
Because Mom was so solid. I never said that. Okay. You're making that up.
No, this is great that you shared it, because we all have people in our lives, or have seen people that could be forgetful, liking to be in denial, senile. I'm sorry, all of these things that people could say, I didn't do that, or they would have mood swings. For example, one minute they're angry, another minute they like you, another minute that you bring something up, they hate you again. But what you're saying is actually, I can see it very clearly, how if the person is denying what happened 5 minutes ago, or is, as you said, very emotional about something that happened like when you were 8, that's probably something else. That's not just a mood swing.
She's in her 80s, and my sister is trying to say it's dementia, except that my mom has been like this since I was in my 20s.
Wow.
So this is not new.
Right.
you know. So it's not dementia unless she hit dementia in her 30s,
Mm-hmm.
because she was 17 when she had me. She's not that much older than I am. So as we get older, we become peers, and she's still clinging to this, I'm your mother, you have to obey me.
So
And
who is the real person then? Do you know?
I don't think there is a real person anymore.
Okay.
I think all of them are her. That none of them have been dominant enough for her to have a full record in her own mind from any of them.
So there is not. What you're saying is that there isn't enough awareness for her to actually step back and realize that she's being switched almost automatically between them.
No, she thinks she's normal, and that she thinks I'm gaslighting her.
Okay.
Because I'm telling her what she tells me, and I have witnesses she's told me.
Yeah.
And I would have to video it and play it back for her, but she would switch when she saw the evidence and not believe me. So
Yeah.
this is why these families of the people like me, we don't get along well, because we all have alters. This is a multi-generational problem.
Mm-hmm.
I know my mother has alters. I have alters. At least 2 of my kids have alters. And my grandkids have had the personality changes that go with the first abduction. So we're looking at 4 generations in just my family.
So what's your...
This is a serious problem.
What you're saying is it's all induced.
It's all induced.
It's not like...
It's
not like it's genetic or something.
No, it's not a genetic problem. This is someone is doing this to us. And I personally blame CIA or the agency that they were before that name, which was what? Office of Strategic Services.
Yeah, the OSS.
OSS. So the OSS would have been who bothered my mother, because she was born in 1938. So that was during the war.
Amazing.
So this has been an ongoing program we're getting close to 100 years.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted it stopped. They have chosen a bloodline and have been using us like we're racehorses or show dogs. And we have no say in this. And the worst of it is, they don't need to. There's nothing we do out there that can't be done by consenting adults.